This is P4P Boxing TV with our first ever interview. I'm joined by 13-0 Muhammad Ali. Muhammad, how you doing, right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thanks for asking. For those who don't know, Muhammad Ali is Britain's first type 1 diabetic boxer. Let's start from the beginning. What age were you diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and when did you start to take up boxing, and was there any specific reason?
Yeah, so basically, at the age of 4, going on to 5, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So, um, with how I got involved in boxing, basically, the nurse became friends with my mum and my dad, and she wanted, obviously, diabetes. We've got no history of diabetes in our family, so it was a new thing for the family. And don't forget, it's type 1 diabetes, so injecting and going back 25 years ago, technology were different. Like now, there's an insulin pump. There's different ways of checking your sugar levels. Like I'm an ambassador for Abbott's, so I've been blessed, to use the sensor, Freestyle Libre 2 sensor, which I get a mobile device and you can see where my sugar levels are. Off, like for example, I'm speaking to yourself, and I can check my sugar levels without having to prick my fingers. But going back then, I had to prick my fingers, to check my sugar levels. So my mum and dad had to really learn about type 1 diabetes. So there's a nurse called Jo who was my first nurse, and my first doctor was Dr. Iwanza. Sadly, she's died now. May God, rest her soul in heaven. And basically, Joe said, look, for Ali to keep his sugar levels in good control, get him involved in sport, get him involved in football. So my dad put me in football. At the age of 4 or 5, I had no
Mm.
understanding of the sport. And then as I got older, about 6, 7 years old, didn't like losing. For example, we'd lose a match and I'd turn around to my dad and said, the striker didn't score, the goalkeeper didn't save. And it was always moaning, being very competitive, moaning, saying, oh, it was his fault, never accepting defeat myself, blaming others. And then my dad got me involved in karate, so he didn't want me involved in boxing. Now, we've got no family history of boxing. Forget boxing, forget
Yeah.
football. We've got no family history of sports in our family. Nobody
Mm.
takes part in any sport. So my dad was clueless about where to take me to football or karate or anything. He just wanted my sugar levels in a good place. And we'd never heard of a Asian, footballer or boxer or anything in the world of sports. So in our culture, we tend to follow the sheep, follow each other. For example, if someone's successful at something, we'd all want to be doing the same thing and being successful at that thing. Um, like Amir Khan, for example, and all the Asian kids, the doors have been open for us, to take part
Yeah.
in boxing. So my dad wouldn't allow me to take part in boxing. So at that time, my dad started taking me to karate, and then in karate, we couldn't compete. So I'd come home and say to my mum, "Oh, I want to I want to take part in boxing." So at that time, roughly when I got into karate, it was a few years. But when I was like 10, 11 years old, Amir Khan had come back from the Olympics. And at that
Mm.
time, Ricky Hatton was on the rise. Prince Nassim was going out. Mike Tyson were going out. Ricky Hatton were coming in the pro side in Great Britain, and Amir Khan was in the Olympics. He did amazing. Oh, do you remember when Amir went to the Olympics? How all of
Nah, I
Great
wasn't
Britain
alive
got
then.
behind. Oh, we're not alive, right? So all
Yeah.
of Great Britain got behind him, supporting him. Honestly, the country come to a standstill when Amir boxed Mario Kindlen in
Mm.
the final. And back then it was on ITV1, so it was free as
Mm.
well. So all the country tuning in when Amir Khan came back, with the silver medal. All the country went to Bolton,
Yeah.
to see him,
Yeah, I've
his
seen and heard of
ceremony.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, Amir was like the face of world, in sport in
Yeah.
Great Britain. And he every time he fought ITV, I remember for example, we'd go play five-side football amongst the lads, and Amir Khan's on main event at 10 p.m. We'd all rush home everybody would
Yeah.
rush home to go watch him. Like we'd all cut our days down to go and watch Amir box. And Ricky Hatton at the time was boxing a guy called Costa Zoo. So Costa Zoo, I think the fight prior or two fights prior, knocked out Zab Judah. Knocked
Yeah.
out Zab Judah. And he was a dangerous fighter. And Ricky Hatton, my dad took us up to watch him. So Ricky stopped him in the 11th round. Well, the corner threw in the towel, said he's got a
Mm.
perforated eardrum. So they basically stopped the fight. And I remember Ricky Hatton was a big name as well, but Amir was a bigger name. Like in
Mm.
terms of a household name, there's a
Yeah.
difference. Like for example, you're a big name just in the sport of boxing. Like everybody knows you. Like for example, Terence Crawford. Right now, his name's growing massively, right? But if you
Yeah.
go back about a year or two, he's like a massive name inside the boxing world. Whereas someone like Anthony Joshua, he's known, like grandmas know him, granddads know him. They
Yeah.
know who, even non-boxing fans know who Anthony Joshua is. This is how Amir Khan was back then. Like my
Mm.
mum, she's never watched boxing, but she knew who Amir Khan was. My grandma, she knows who. She's never turned the telly on. She knew who Amir Khan was.
Yeah.
That was the difference. That's how big he was, and that's how I got into boxing. Then I said to my mum, "Look, I'm being good at school. Please take me to the boxing gym." And my dad was like, "Look, you've got diabetes, and Muhammad Ali, he's got a brain, problem, through Parkinson's. And look, diabetes is enough. We don't want no injuries or you suffering from anything." So my mum sneaked me to the gym whilst my dad was at work, and then the coach wanted to speak to my dad. You know, the coach wanted to speak to my dad and get my medical done as an amateur boxer. So I told my mum the coach wants to speak to dad, and she was like, if he finds out, he's gonna basically kick off. So she
Mm.
spoke to my dad, and my dad agreed, what, I'll speak to the coach. And he was like, I told you not to, go to the boxing gym. And he come watch me train. I said, look, I've been good at school. And all of a sudden, he's come to the gym and he liked what he saw. And I went for my amateur boxing medical. And the doctor passed me, but England
Yeah.
Boxing said no. They've never had a type 1 diabetic amateur boxer before. So then Amir Khan boxed for Bury Amateur Boxing Club. So I'm from Rochdale.
Yeah.
Bury is up the road, like a 10-minute drive. So we went to see Mick Jelly, and he said, look, Ali, I can get you your medical. It don't matter what you suffer from. I want to see if you can box. So he put me in with the lad to spar, and I did really well. So don't forget, I joined the gym at 12, 13, and then my license
Mm.
got rejected then. And then at 17 is when I got my medical passed as an amateur boxer. And then I got my boxing medical passed, and I had 34 amateur fights. So
Yeah.
that's how I got into boxing. So it was Mick Jelly who helped me get my amateur boxing, medical
Yeah.
sorted.
Um. Later on, when you did decide to tempo, you faced obviously many challenges with your license being rejected
Oh
again.
yeah, yeah.
Can you tell us more about that and how you tackled them problems?
Yeah. So what happened was, I think it was 2009 or 8 when I got my amateur boxing medical pass. So in 2015, I won a boxing tournament, the Haringey Box Cup.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like Steve Bunce was there, and he watched me box, and he said, "You're a fan-friendly fighter. You should turn pro." And Anthony Joshua won it a couple of years prior. Anthony Yard won it, I think, the year before. Eubank Jr. won it a couple of years prior as well. So it's like a prestigious, well-known tournament, the Haringey Box Cup. And I won that, and started getting a lot of interest by people. And then the following year, I went. Yeah, I'm a graduate in sports studies, so I won the national title for my university, and then I boxed in the Celtic Box Cup in Ireland, and I won that. And I was training at a professional boxing gym as well. Part time, not part time, but like I'm going to the amateur gym, and in the mornings I train at the pro gym, and I ended up trying to turn pro. So in 2015, I was supposed to make my professional boxing debut, and 2 weeks prior to the fight, I completed all my brain scan, my medicals, everything was like passed, and the boxing board denied my license, rejected it due to me being type 1 diabetic. No reason given, like for example, your sugar levels are not in control or anything, just due to being type 1 diabetic. So then I stopped boxing. I thought, that's it, that's the end of boxing. Being type 1 diabetic, I'm not allowed to box, it's simple as that. So then a businessman approached me and he said, like, Ali, what's going on? I don't see you in the papers no more. Or back then there were newspapers, they weren't online.
Mm.
And in 2015, and I was like, boxing's come to an end. And he was like, why? And I said, I've been given no medical reason, just me being type 1 diabetic. And he said, look, that's discrimination, that. Let's speak to a
Yeah.
solicitor. So my dad contacted a solicitor. We sat down, and he basically said, "Look, it's a discrimination act. So if your diabetes is not in control, we understand. Your license should be rejected. But because you're in control, the doctors are saying you're fit and you're healthy. You should have your license. Simple as that." So he was saying it's simple as that. But on the other hand, the boxing board was saying no,
Yeah.
because I'm type 1 diabetic. So it was like I could see light at the end of the tunnel, but then in another tunnel, it was like, how long can I waste? Not having a license, not earning no money. I'm a young lad. I need to move on with life. And I'm a sports graduate. I can go down the teaching route. I've got a teaching degree as well, and I could teach PE, so earn some money. And
Mm.
I was like, how long can I wait? So my mum and dad were saying, look, be patient, be patient. So basically, in 2016, I went to see my consultant, and I said, Doctor, can you help me get my license? I, am I fit? Am I healthy? He said, look, you're fit, you're healthy, absolutely everything's spot on with you. I'm not putting my neck on the line and writing a letter to the boxing board saying you should get your license, because that's my neck on the line. Something goes wrong with you, I'll be facing the consequences. And I was like, look, doctor, I really appreciate, your honesty, and I respect your decision, because I wouldn't put my neck on the line for someone else. Whatever's going to feed my family, from the job I'm, making money for my family, I wouldn't put my neck on the line to lose that, for someone else's sake. And I go, you know what, I respect your decision, fair enough. But then he called me. He contacted him. He said, Ali, look, I've been thinking about it. Have you heard of Sir Steve Redgrave? And I was like, yeah, Olympic rower, 5-time Olympic rower. He said, he's type 1 diabetic. He's out in the open sea. He's at a higher medical risk, whereas ringside, there's doctors. They'll be in the ring with you in 10 seconds. Whereas with Sir Steve Redgrave, they're up in a helicopter because he's out in the open sea. The medical team are in a helicopter, in the air.
Yeah.
And it takes long. It takes about 30 minutes for them to get down to the patient. And I was like, okay. He goes, why don't you go and visit his consultant? And I was like, Doctor, is that going to be worth my journey? I've got to go to London. We live in Rochdale. It's going to take me 4 hours to get there. And he was like, yeah, go and see him. It's worth going and having a meeting. So that that appointment was the start of 2017. So don't forget these appointments, because they're with private consultants, take like 3 to 4 months, each
Mm.
appointment. So I thought, what I'll do is, we don't go to London often, so I'll get the appointment at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's going to take me 4 hours for me to drive up from Rochdale. The appointment will be maximum half an hour. What I'll do is, I'll go to London, and all I'm going to hear is, again, what I've been hearing by these consultants and doctors. You're fit, you're healthy, you should have your license, but I'm not putting my neck on the line. So I'll get the appointment at 9:30, I'll be out of there, and the rest of the day I'll spend in London, chilling out, going shopping, and going to all the tourist attractions. And I've gone to London now, and I've sat down with the doctor, and he said to me, "Look, Ali," he explained the situation about Sir Steve Redgrave. He's at a higher risk. He's out in the open sea. The not consultant, the emergency services are up in the air. It'll take them half an hour to get to him, whereas 10 seconds to get to you in a ring. You should have your license. And I was like, yeah. And then the reason why I wasn't being given a license was the boxing board had said that they can't take my glove off, prick my finger to see where my bloods are, in the ring in between each round. And I said to Dr. Gallen, look, there's no way me going forward. And he goes, look, technology's moved on. The new sensor's out. The sensor, I've got to wear it below my hip. So
Yeah.
the Freestyle Libre sensor, I hadn't seen that before. And he goes, look, try this sensor on. So he gave it me. I put it on, and your sugar levels appear within 2 seconds. And he was like, look, there's a minute in between rounds. This takes 2 seconds to show your sugar levels. So the board have got no excuse. It's a mobile device. The doctors have it. And I'm going to write to the board saying, listen, no excuses. He should have his license. There's a mobile device. You can see what his sugar levels are in between rounds. So have you ever watched my fights?
Yeah.
Have
I
you?
have, yeah. And I've seen the
So
videos online as well. You've shown like the little device, yeah.
yeah. So the doctor comes round whilst my cornerman's giving me instructions in the corner. He'll bring a mobile device and check my sugar levels.
Yeah.
And the boxing board's doctors, I've got to see them and see they're in range. They've set me range targets to keep them in between. And so it's not easy. So I'm fighting 2 battles. So I've got an opponent in front of me. And at the same time, my sugar level's in range. And what's happened is he's shown me that. And honestly, my eyes have just lit up. I've never seen such technology. And he said, look, I'm writing to the board. You should have your license. So now what happens is the board have said, wow, amazing. But we've not heard nothing back now from the board. So now this is 2017. I think it was that year, it was either March or May. Joshua were boxing Joseph Parker
Yeah.
for the unified titles, to unify the weight division. I think Joshua had the WBA, Joseph Parker had the IBF, or it was the other way around. And they were boxing in Cardiff. So basically, my dad and his mate said, like speaking to one another, said, all the world's media is going to be at Joshua's fight. The head office of the British Border Boxing Controls in Cardiff. Why don't you go down and hold a peaceful protest? Like Ali should have his license, and the boxing board should, give his license, and some banners, and have a peaceful protest. Get people, get support behind you, and make some noise out there. So we was like, okay, great idea. So we contacted the British Border Boxing Control, told them we're coming up to Cardiff. So they said, yeah, no problem. We informed the police, the security, they said no problem. Told the boxing board, no problem. So I put a status up on Facebook and said, guys, on Saturday, whatever the date was, I'm coming up to Cardiff, to do a peaceful protest. Do you guys want to help me, support me? And honestly, I had over 500 comments and shares, and people like, yeah, we come with you, we come with you. And I said the meeting point's going to be, where are you from?
Me, I'm from London, bro.
Oh, you're from the other side
Yeah.
then. So there's a street called Castlemere Street. It's a famous street in Rochdale, Tweedale Street. So I said, that'll be the meeting point, and we'll all head at 9 o'clock in the morning to Cardiff. So honestly, yeah, we'll be there, bro. We'll be there. So everyone's like, yeah, we'll be there. 9 o'clock in the morning, we've got to Tweedale Street. Honestly, no word of a lie. One person turned up, and we were planning on booking coaches, to go to Cardiff. And I was like saying to me, Dad, nah, look, worst case scenario, I'll drive my car, you drive your car. My neighbour's going, he'll drive his car, and we'll just fill cars up. Over 100 people not going to come. And my dad was like, okay. So honestly, one person turned up, a friend of mine. So it was me, my dad, my brother, 3 of us, my neighbour and his son, 5, opposite neighbour, 6. another neighbour 7, and my mate who were driving, that was 8, and this extra person who had come 9. 9 of us going to Cardiff, right? 9 o'clock in the morning. Honestly, I've got my head in my laps. I was like, nah, it's not worth going. Um, everyone were like, what should we do? 9 o'clock in the morning, it's about 8:50. Like, should we go? And we were all like, there's no point in going. They're gonna laugh at us. And we thought, you know what? If we don't turn up, the British Body Boxing Control are gonna laugh at us for not turning up. They're gonna think we're jokers. I'll definitely not get my license. So what we've done is we've put our head in our laps and off we've gone. We've set off now to Cardiff. Now we've got to Cardiff, right? Imagine you're about 10 miles away from Wembley Stadium. 100,000 of capacity, but Principality Stadium, I think it's 50 or 60,000. So about 3 miles prior, all the queues have started with the traffic. We had leaflets in the car, about what's going on regarding
Yeah.
my story. We started giving leaflets out the windows, to people and other people in traffic with us. They were like, listen, we'll join you there, we'll join you there. And we were like, wow. So we've got there and parked our van, a minibus up, walked down, and honestly, over 10,000 people joined me. Over 10,000 people. Yeah, we're getting interviews by Russian television because Povetkin were fighting David Price that night. Russian television coming over and asking me what's going on, and I was telling them, and they were like, "Wow, this is amazing news." Joshua driving past, he got me on his snap. British Body Boxing Control General Secretary, he came out because his name was on one of the posters, and he said, like one of my family members has seen my name and they're not happy and they phoned me, Ali, what's going on? And I'm like, look, I've been waiting 3 years to get my license. I've not heard nothing back from you guys. And he's like, listen, if you pass your medical, we'll have a meeting in 2 weeks. Everything goes to plan and you pass your medical, you'll get your license. And that was at 7 p.m. And one of my mates who were with me said, listen, we're not going home now. If we go home now, you'll probably think these guys have, easy to push away. They've got off. And they offered me ringside tickets. I'm like, nah, I'm here for this peaceful protest. I'll be fighting one day, main event. Forget the tickets right now. And 2 weeks later, we've had our meeting, and my consultant, Sir Steve Redgrave's doctors turned up. We've all had our meeting, and they agreed. If I pass my medical, we showed them the technology. If I pass my medical, I get my license. So I passed my medicals. I created history, becoming the first Type 1 diabetic professional boxer, and I had 3 fights that year. It was September 2018 when I made my professional boxing debut, and then up till December I had 3 fights, and then 2019 I had another 3 fights, and COVID struck, and another 2.5 years I didn't have my license because I've got an underlying health condition, and they said I'm at a higher risk, um, I might catch COVID, in being in public places. So it's frustrating. Like, I was sparring lads who were fighting for like titles and, competing, and me not being allowed to compete. I didn't even get COVID. I don't want it. I'm not being big headed about, but I didn't catch COVID, keeping myself safe. And it was frustrating because I wasn't allowed to box for another, near enough 3 years. So I fought for my license 3 years, and then COVID struck, another 3 years. And my boxing career has just been stop, start, stop, start. And now, since 2022, I've had 7 fights, 6 or 7 fights. Keeping busy now, and hopefully, inshallah, in 2025, I'll create history becoming the first Type 1 diabetic champion, and I'm just going to build.
Yeah, moving on to my next question. Do you have any titles in mind?
I've no titles in mind right now. Just building momentum. Hopefully, early next year after my next bout, I should have something in mind.
More recently, your last fight was on the November 16th and was a decision win against Josh Cook. What do you make of your last performance?
Um, he had a very negative opponent, in front of me. What I mean by negative is very defensive, and he was a big. He was. I felt his size in there because he was a lot bigger than me. He was a middleweight, and I'm a welterweight, and he was a middleweight. But he was very defensive, and it was hard, to crack the shell. Um, it was more than a physical battle. It was a mental battle. Mental fight. Not getting frustrated, not overcommitting, um, not doing anything stupid in the ring. So I thought I boxed well. It was a very slow paced fight, and I thought I boxed well behind the jab.
Obviously, you are an ambassador as well for Diabetes UK.
Yeah.
How do you feel being a role model for those that are born with diabetes? And do you have a message for all the diabetics out there that may be in similar situations that you were in when you were younger?
Yeah, absolutely anything's achievable in life. If you surround yourself around the right people, the word impossible has the word possible in it, and anything is possible in life. Be positive. You have good days, you have bad days, and you've just got to keep going, chasing after the end goal. It's very, very important that you keep mentally strong, because as a type 1 diabetic, like the British weather, you can't predict it. One day it's snowing, one day it's sunny, like these past few days we've had. And this is how diabetes is. And you've just got to get used to bettering your sugar levels and don't let diabetes take control of you. You be in control of your diabetes. That's the best way I can put it.
Absolutely great message there. And on that note, Mohammed, thank you for your time and we look forward to seeing you back out in 2025.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to yourself. All the best with your career moving forward as a journalist.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome.